Hello everybody and welcome back to the Tabletop Tavern. It's Dwayne here, and today we're going to be talking about heartofdaggers.com. This is a ongoing series that I have, basically getting everybody acquainted with the Daggerheart platform that is really just, honestly, in my words, well ahead of any other website or tool in its space. So today we're going to be diving into the Homebrew Vault portion of Heart of Daggers. And if you haven't checked out my previous videos regarding maps and characters, make sure that you check those out. And while you're doing it, make sure you subscribe as well. So the Homebrew Vault is, I guess, where Heart of Daggers kind of really sets itself apart from any other website that you might want to use for your for your Daggerheart campaign. The Homebrew Vault is where your creations live in Heart of Daggers. Now, one of the cool things about the Homebrew Vault, however, is not only do the creations that you develop there live, they also get integrated with everything else in the Heart of Daggers ecosystem. So strap in and let's have a look. So the landing page for Heart of Daggers has gotten a glow up in recent months. You can see a lot of curated artwork. This is all AI free as well. So before you start jumping down that rabbit hole, the team at Heart of Daggers has really gone out of their way to make sure that they have created a compelling visual for their website, and in line with sort of the Daggerheart theme. Just some amazing artwork, and it just brings the website to life and gives it that polish. Your Homebrew Vault section of Heart of Daggers is going to be located down here halfway through the page on the tab below Characters, Encounters, and Campaigns. And we're just going to go ahead and click on Homebrew Vault. So right off the bat, you're going to be brought to a page that is going to illustrate not your homebrew creations, but the community's homebrew creations. And this is a really cool feature, mainly because it doesn't make you live in an isolated bubble with just your creations. At the top, you'll see that there's a list of most liked creations for the week, and this is updated as community members add content to the Homebrew Vault. Below it, you'll see a tremendous amount of content, and you can filter this by whatever types you want, most recent, but basically just a massive depository of content. Right now it's showing that there's 2,445 creations for the Homebrew Vault. Now, where you want to be concerned about specifically is My Homebrew. You will notice that there is categories below here. If you want to start going through the different 2,445 creations, you can filter that down by communities, classes, armor, etc. Just by clicking on one, for example, you click on adversaries, and voila, you have a listing of community created adversaries for you. But like I said, we're concentrating on My Homebrew Vault today. And you'll see here, this is your personal Homebrew Vault. Below, you'll see all the homebrew creations that you've made, as well as any upvotes. So if these are public creations, and you'll see what that means in a second, community members can upvote it and give you sort of a thumbs up approval on it. You'll see here that I've made a total of 66 total creations. I've published 65, and I still have one pending in my draft. Right now, we're going to go and add a homebrew. You're going to be faced with some choices. And in line with the different types of things you can homebrew, you're going to have adversaries, ancestries, armor, consumables, communities, environments, you name it. Even domain cards, weapons, and items, and subclasses are available. Whether you choose an adversary, an ancestry, or a piece of armor, the steps are pretty much all the same. So you'll see a very specific way to create this adversary. And this is actually worth noting because, one of the struggles that I have is when creating is having a formatted template or a formatted way to create rather than just rambling on and putting a bunch of stuff together. So this is a very concise, well laid out way to do it. You'll see as well that I can pull information from existing adversaries to help me populate if I'm not too good at creating it on my own. I'm actually going to go ahead and actually name this after an adversary monster that isn't in the Daggerheart core book, but it does exist in the Dungeons & Dragons core book. So I'm going to go and create a bugbear. So now that I've got my bugbear created, or in name only, I can go through and I can actually upload my own image for it, or I can browse the image library. And again, this is amazing that they've gone through that process of actually curating a library of art. So if you click on Browse Image Library, you'll see here that it pulls up different categories. Now, granted, not all categories are going to be represented, but this is just a quick and easy way to attach an image to your creation. In this situation, I'm going to upload a piece of custom artwork. So with my custom artwork uploaded, I now have a choice of setting my privacy settings. Now, I can set to private homebrew, which means the community won't be able to see it, and it's just for me only. Now, there is a little toggle here that says AI assisted. Now, keeping in mind that if you're not publishing anything to be sold on Heart of Daggers, using AI content is fine. They just want to let audiences know or community members know if you have used AI in the process of creating this. This is not meant to shame anybody, but simply just a heads up for those people who have really strong opinions on AI created content. I'm going to move on to adversary details. So here is that part I was telling you about where there is a form in place that will allow you to actually sort of guide you through the creation of your homebrew. Not always do we know what information to put and what information is needed to make a proper homebrew, and Heart of Daggers has gone and created this template. Now remember I was mentioning that you can actually use existing adversaries. So here if you click on that, you'll have the option of choosing from existing categories, which will pre-fill out a lot of the stuff that you might be hesitant about. In this case, my bugbear is going to be a bruiser, which is the default one. You can select a tier that you want this bruiser to be. So if you want to tier it up for your players, I'm going to select tier 2. Most of my players are tier 2. So I'm going to select tier 2. It's going to give you some existing features that the bruiser adversary already has. I'm going to check both of them because I really want to make this bugbear kind of a viable threat. You can toggle different things once you get into it as well. I'm going to up the damage dealt with this. I'm going to apply that template. So as you can see, applying that template means most of my work is done. It takes the guessing right out of it and also makes it so that your adversary falls in line with what is expected in the Daggerheart core. Now the only thing left to do now, rather than filling out all my stress and thresholds, is to go in and give it some flavor in the form of features and attacks. So I'm going to give him a Morningstar, like his D&D counterpart. And of course, it's a melee weapon with its damage and damage type already pre-filled out because of the template that I chose. Now, you'll notice that it does have some features already that I pulled in from the Bruiser, which is Momentum and Ramp Up. Those are two really great features to have for a Bruiser, but I'm going to add something else. Now, this is where the fun part comes in homebrewing, is you actually get to sort of iterate and even go beyond and come up with some amazing things. So right off the bat, I'm going to give this thing an experience. We know bugbears are cunning, so I'm going to call it Cunning. My cunning experience is going to come in at a +2. And so if I want to spend a fear during a combat encounter with this bugbear, I can leverage that experience as well. Now I'm going to add one more experience because I think that Ramp Up and Momentum are pretty potent experiences for a bruiser, but there is one thing that I love about bugbears that I want to add to this particular stat block. So I'm going to select a feature by adding a feature, and this is a custom feature. And this is going to be an action feature. You'll see here that you have the option of making it passive action or reaction. I'm going to make this an action. I'm going to call this one very simply Ambush. So I'm not the perfect homebrew game master, but in this case I've established that the bugbear loves to ambush. So before the players encounter the bugbear, I can spend a fear and have that bugbear ambush the players. Attack rolls against the players who are ambushed receive advantage. And inflict 1d6 extra damage. This is where the sort of, personal touch comes into when homebrewing. And, don't worry too much about getting things right or doing it, balanced, etc. That's part of the fun of homebrew. And if you find that maybe it is a little bit too powerful as far as a feature you've added, you can always go back in and edit your creation. Sometimes playing is the best way to get a sense of whether you've done something in the right way or not. So finally, at the very bottom, you can add in descriptions, notes, etc. In this case, I'm actually just going to copy some of the notes directly pulled from the D&D Beyond stat block. So voila, here you go. You have a custom homebrew bugbear for the Daggerheart rule system. It might not be the most accurate portrayal of a bugbear outside of the Dungeons & Dragons ecosystem, but it is there for players who want to use it. And I'm going to make this thing public so that other GMs can make use of this creation. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So with all these fields filled in, we're going to come down here below and click the submit and save. And here we go. Here is our bugbear created by Dwayne at the Tabletop Tavern. And you're going to see it laid out in a very easy to read format. And you'll also notice that over on the right-hand side, you see the adversary card. This is the same format and same visual that you're going to see in Daggerheart Core. And in addition, you can download this card as a PDF and actually print it out if you're playing at the table or whatever virtual tabletop you're using, and use it just like that without having to come back to the Heart of Daggers platform. Now, do you remember how I was saying earlier about how you can take your homebrew creations and stitch them across everything in the Heart of Daggers platform? Well, for that, you're going to have to wait for my next video dealing with encounters. But for now, this is how you create homebrew. So get out there, try it out for yourselves, and don't stop at adversaries. Maybe dive into armors, weapons, and anything else you think is interesting for you. And make sure you have a look at the community creations as well to give you some guidance. I hope you're all having fun playing Daggerheart out there, and we'll talk to you soon.